Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandavats, dear devotees. Krishna Krishna and Parama Bhakti Didi with us from Brazil too. Happy to see you there. And Gupta Govardhan, we've got Jamuna at the controls. And we just heard Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj and expecting to see him in a moment.
Now we see momentarily, but not extensively.
Jai Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj.
Jai Srila Bhakti Ranjan Madhusudan Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Shri Nabadwip Dham Parikrama ki jai.
Can you raise the volume?
Ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Guru Maharaj ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Acharya Brinda ki jai. The Sannyasi Brinda ki jai. Seva Brinda ki jai. Sri Nabadwip Dham Parikrama ki jai. Nitai Go Premanande.
Hari Hari Bo.
Good, there we go. Maharaj, lead us on.
Well, Maharaj, as far as was advertised, and you may say if this is suitable for you, then today is actually our last day on the virtual Parikrama, tomorrow being the Adivas of Gaura Purnima. Then the original plan was that devotees will be extensively in their own temples following that program. So if is this suitable for you, Maharaj, or would you like also tomorrow to be online at this time?
You decide.
Okay, well, let's see how we get along today then, Maharaj, because...
And then give me the remote for the AC.
Because we're not limited to time and space, as we know.
Yeah.
We are now with our 2 days, means today and tomorrow would be, first of all, today would be going to Sarupganj, going to Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur's Bhajan Kutir.
Slideshow showing. Yes, Maharaj, keep speaking. Yes.
Okay, I was silenced by accident somewhere. So Maharaj, then today would be going to Godrumadip, to Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur's Bhajan Kutir, to his Samadhi, and to the place where there are some of his own actual paraphernalia like bed, etc. In Godrumadip. And then from there we'd go around through to Madhyadip, and there go through to Harihara Kshetra and to Nrsimhapalli. And this circuit, and then back to the temple. And tomorrow would be the day to go to Ritudip, Janudip, the area of Champahati. So Maharaj, where would you like to go today? We can jump to any place that suits you.
Bhaktivinod Thakur's place.
All right. Then, starting from our Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat, we'll come out of the gate, and as we've done in more recent years, we cross the bridge, and then we walk with Kirtan all the way through on the other side of the Ganges, which is actually considered to be the Ganges current. The west side is the Jamuna, the east side is the Ganges, and then we follow along Madhyadip, crossing into Godrumadip, and to Bhaktivinod Thakur's home, his place where he stayed, his Bhajan Kutir at Swarupganj. So Maharaj, come, and there's a huge banyan tree outside, which I always feel, and I think the devotees also feel, this banyan tree must be able to tell us some wonderful stories. It is giving shade, and it's right outside the Bhajan Kutir of Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur. So Maharaj, perhaps here we can be seated and hear from your grace, your holiness.
So Srila Guru Maharaj composed one sloka, He says, Gurudam, Grantadam, Gaura, Damadam, Namadam, Uda, Bhaktidam, Buddhidam, Bande, Bhaktivinod-dham, Muda. Outlining the gifts of Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur. And he mentions first Gurudam. He gave us Saraswati Thakur, otherwise you don't get any Bhaktivinod Thakur. Without Saraswati Thakur, there's no Krishna, there's no Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, Gurudev, nothing. So, by giving, and Gurudev says that Srila Saraswati Thakur was attracted to the wealth and the melted heart of Bhaktivinod Thakur. So we know, we mentioned how he discovered Mayapur, revealed that, he gives the cartography of Nabadwip Dham. But we know, we've heard he would go to bed around 8 o'clock at night. He would eat like 4 to 6 rotis, chapatis with thick ones with hot milk, and then rest from 8 o'clock at night till midnight. Then he would wake up at midnight and start composing songs, books, taking Krishna Nam, and work till sunrise. Then he would rest a little more and then do his work as a magistrate. But so from midnight till sunrise, many important things, that wealth that attracted Saraswati Thakur, it's being generated from the heart of Bhaktivinod Thakur. And Guru Maharaj heard one disciple, he lived on the other side of the boundary wall. So he said that sometimes at 3 o'clock in the morning, Bhaktivinod Thakur, we know there's a cement bench outside the front door, and he'd be sitting there taking Krishna Nam, and he said it was so piteous, like that someone was crying out to their beloved the way he was taking the Krishna Nam. And it made a deep impression upon that person, who later became a disciple of Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur and Saraswati Thakur. He may have also had some connection with Bhaktivinod Thakur. No, not actually. Maybe with other. But so Bhaktivinod Thakur, that's his situation. And we hear Guru Maharaj said, sometimes taking Krishna Nam, he said, walking in the subtle plane. And Bhaktivinod Thakur came in upon an assembly of Mahajans, of the Mahajans, like we know, Swayambhur, Shambhu, Narada, etc. And they were discussing the Bhagavad Gita. They're having a Gita class. So Bhagavad Gita class is not just for beginners, right? The Mahajans, the 12 in number, how many of them there? They are having a Bhagavad Gita class. And the verse comes, Apichet suracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak sadureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisa. And it's saying that what it appears to be saying is that if a devotee does something wrong, kipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati konteya prati janihi name bhakta pranash. Krishna is saying, no, my devotee will never be ruined. That kipram bhavati dharmatma, quickly he'll overcome that and be situated rightly on the path. That's the general understanding. But as Srila Gurudev would say sometimes, he'd say, what about this? And someone would offer an immediate answer, and he'd stop them and go, Prabhu, I know what we normally say to that. But if we think about it on a deeper level, so they're thinking, this verse is somewhat mysterious if you remember everything coming from Krishna, the infinite, there's infinite variety of meaning possible. to be extracted from there in a living way. So they're saying, and while they're having this discussion, because it says Ananya Bhak, it's qualified, an exclusive, unalloyed devotee of the Lord. Ananya Bhak, this is the important point. An exclusive Shuddha Bhakta. And they go, well, here's an Ananya Bhak Bhakta, Bhaktivinod Thakur. Let's invite him in to give explanation. And so Bhaktivinod Thakur, Guru Maharaj gives this explanation. Bhaktivinod Thakur explained that if he's Ananya Bhak, that means a totally pure, unalloyed devotee, he never does anything wrong. Even if it appears that he did, he didn't. And if you can believe that, not just theoretically, but in your heart, you can actually believe that he has done no wrong, something that appears to be very wrong from an external point of view. You're saying, no wrong done by him. If you can believe that, Kipram Bhavati Dharmatma, then quickly you will become dharmic. He's saying because the qualifications of an Ananya Bhak Bhakta are that he's already crossed over Dharma. Like, Sarva Dharmam Paritajamam Ekam Sharanam Braja. He already gave up all Sarva Dharmam Paritaj. That's been given up by him in answering the flute call of Krishna, the call of Krishna. So how can you say he will become dharmic? He's already crossed over Dharma. He's going to go back to a lower position. It cannot mean that. Saying, but if you can believe, seeing him apparently do something very wrong or objectionable, and believe that it's not, then that'll be good for you. Your position will improve. So, Guru Maharaj, I once said to him, I hear you said once some of your godbrothers didn't like you to distribute this explanation. And first Guru Maharaj said, who are these godbrothers? He's just joking, but he goes, who are these guys? I was going, I don't know, Maharaj, you said it. I don't know. And he laughed and he said, Judge of our Maharaj, he told me, don't give this out because it will be abused. See, according to Guru Maharaj, you cannot self-certify. You can't do something very objectionable and then quote this verse. So, well, Guru Maharaj says right here, you can't self-certify. But Judge of our Maharaj said, if people hear this, they're just going to abuse it like anything. So better you don't distribute this so much. But Guru Maharaj is a truth teller, and he prefers to speak the truth and accept the consequences of that. So that's one example. Another is that Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur, that early morning, is out on the cement bench taking Krishna Nam, and he feels this breeze come by every morning, like 4 to 5, somewhere in there. It's like going by, and it comes on schedule every day, like it goes by, and he feels the breeze. And it's going from Swarupganj, where he lives, Swananda Sukada Kunj, Godrumadwip, and it's going towards the Yog Pit in Mayapur. But right next to where he lives is a place that was called Devapoli, and sometimes Nrsimhapoli. And the reason is that they say after killing Hiranyakashipu, Nrsimhadev was flying back to his own abode, and he came over and he said, in the Kali Yuga, I appear as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So he thought, I want to stay there now. And also Nitya Lila, so he can enter that current. And so Nrsingadev rested there on one hill, looking towards Mayapur. And why they call it Devapoli is then many devatas, they are accompanying him. They, on surrounding hills, they sat there offering prayers to Nrsingadev. Right? So just see, even Nrsingadev keeping a respectful distance. As once, Gurudev said once, you should not try to purify your guru. So some devotee, they go somewhere and go, look, this is from Brij Basis. Here, Gurudev. One time they did that and he said, no, Prabhu, I cannot. Last time I had diarrhea for 3 days. But another time they come from once a year, the Mat, they offer sweet rice, maybe twice a year, send over a big tub of sweet rice and then bring it back. That's one thing. But then some devotees come back on a non-scheduled time with some thing from there, prasad. And Gurudev looked at me and he said, Guru Maharaj will not take. You come like, he won't. He said, I will take because I'm afraid of Nrsingadev. And then he said, but Nrsingadev is afraid of Guru Maharaj. So Nrsingadev, how respect, like in Devapoli, he's like, that's close enough to Mayapur on this occasion. But Bhaktivinod Thakur feels the breeze coming by every day, and through deep internal culture, he realizes that Nrsingadev is attending the Mangalarati of Gauranga every day. So he stays in Devapoli and then he goes for Mangalarati. And when he goes, that's the breeze from Nrsingadev. So you can say other people are living around there and maybe they're feeling a breeze too. But do they have the capacity to appreciate that breeze is coming from Nrsingadev? So many things can be said about Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur. But he has one autobiography where he says, like, he tells his life and how he lived and here and there, and then he presents himself as someone who discovered Gauranga at a particular age, and then he got Harinam and stopped committing violence to other. He presents the trajectory of a developing sadhaka. But I said to Guru Maharaj, but how can you go from like 0 to 100 that quickly? The story is not entirely believable, because then suddenly Jaiva Dharma, Chaitanya Shiksham, like he gives all these things. And Guru Maharaj said, yes. He said, when we consider the gifts of Bhaktivinod Thakur, we cannot but conclude there was not acquired in this lifetime. It's not like at 40 he discovered Gauranga and then he redirected his life and then got Harinam and started, but he will say like that. So Guru Maharaj said, when we consider the wealth of Bhaktivinod Thakur, we cannot but conclude that he descended from that higher plane, the highest plane. By the way, the reason I have that slide about the English lady drinking tea, you see that? This is after London was bombed. Look, she's sitting on a pile of rubble, having, the English cuppa. She's got smoke all over her and all these things. She has a cup of tea, she's ready to get to work and go on. I really admire this. That's why it's there. It was by accident, but I left it because I think it's inspiring. So the wealth of Bhaktivinod Thakur, the magnitude of the wealth of Bhaktivinod Thakur is such, that's the Atasi flower. We're told that Krishna's color is like the Atasi flower. That's one. And that's Gopal. his father named all the children Gopal. So he's Nitya Gopal, there's another Gopal, another Gopal, another Gopal, another Gopal. So when Gopal had a son, he asked me for a name. I said, do you want me to carry on that? And he goes, no, don't do that. So I named his son Vishwarup. He said, oh, I like that name. But he said, no, don't do the Gopal thing. We have enough. Like, it's confusing enough. There's 5 of us, you know. So Bhaktivinod Thakur and, he was the district magistrate, Krishnanagar, also highly positioned in Puri, and his home, put it this way, when Saraswati Thakur appeared, when he was born, if it was any nearer to the Jagannath temple, it would have been on the altar. So here's the Jagannath temple, and then there's a boundary wall. That's where he appeared. And there's an ancient reference that says that the world savior will come from the east. So up to this point, it was taken to be Jagannath and Jagannath Prasad. Because Puri, like we say, Nadia Udayagiri, Puri, the sun rises there first in the world. So they're saying that sunrise, that savior will appear in the east, and it was taken to be Jagannath and Jagannath Prasad, right? He will mercifully distribute his prasad to one and all. But these things are living and dynamic. So Saraswati Thakur appeared there. As Guru Maharaj said, just as the sun appears there, he appeared there and it sets, and he appeared there and his pastime set in Nabadwip. So Bhaktivinod Thakur, like all great artists, you can say, Bhaktivinod Thakur needed distribution. So it's one thing to have content, it's another thing to get it distributed. Bhaktivinod Thakur had, Guru Maharaj said, 5 to 7 disciples. So he needs a distributing agent. And that is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But in his childhood, he was argumentative in school, arguing with the other students in favor of Krishna conception, Mahaprabhu, and they're Bengalis, and they have all kinds of screwed up ideas about things, so he's fighting with them in school. Teachers are complaining sometimes. Bhaktivinod Thakur called him aside once, and he said, I'm worried about your future. But he's so detached from the world, Bimala Prasad, always taking Krishna Nam, engaged in internal culture. Bhaktivinod Thakur is like, how are you going to survive? I'm worried about that. And Guru Maharaj said, Saraswati Thakur said, no, don't worry about me. You don't have to, I'll manage. And we know he tutored. And you see here, this is a nice picture because Vijay Raman, I like to say, is the father of the Russian mission. There's Srila Bhakti Bimala Maharaj on his Vyas Puja. Here, the father-son relationship is eclipsed, and in the background, Vijay is worshipping the acharya of the Russian mission, not his son. It's not a father worshiping his son, but it's a faithful disciple of Srila Gurudev worshipping and giving recognition to the acharya of the Russian mission. It's apt. So, like Bhaktivinod Thakur had like 12, 14 sons, children. And Guru Maharaj said, out of all of them, 2 were serious about Krishna consciousness. Saraswati Thakur and Lalita Prasad. He was Bimala Prasad, then Lalita Prasad. And of the two, we consider one as Sahajya. So then how rare is Krishna consciousness? Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana koshtish vapi Muhammad. Right? So, and they started off together, Sri Gaudiya but when Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj, Kunja Bihari Vidyabhushan came along, he was the superior manager. He could get Saraswati Thakur an audience. So he replaced Lalita Prasad. And Lalita Prasad never forgave him for that. And so he started all this mischief, right? But he also, we say respectfully, his conception was upasiddhantic, because Saraswati Thakur once wrote an essay called Radha Badha Baba. And what he was saying is, so Saraswati Thakur did not see Bhaktivinod Thakur as his father. He knew from an external point of view, he's my father, I'm his son. But that's not how he saw him, right? We know at the end, his conclusion of his commentary, he's saying, I see Bhaktivinod Thakur as, what do you say, Srup Damodar and Gadadhar. I see him, Gadadhar and Gorkashoras Babaji as Srup Damodar. I'm seeing them that way. Means Radharani. Saraswati Thakur is seeing Bhaktivinod Thakur as Srimati Radharani's surrogate. Prabhupada deals with this in his purports and the Adi Lila, saying two conceptions are proper of Guru. The Radharani's line, or Nityananda covers everything else, and the general representation of Guru. And this way we can conceive Guru, right? That's why Guru Maharaj says, when you're in trouble, Guru disciple, you pray to Nityananda Prabhu for mercy, right? Because he's Guru Tattva. So anyway, one side, Radharani means Madhura Rasa, and all the other rasas up to Nityananda. And just for the record, Nityananda is also in Madhura Rasa as Ananga Manjari, Radharani's little sister. So it's not like you know something he doesn't know. You know. So anyway, Saraswati Thakur wrote this article, Radha Bada Baba, saying about his brother Lalita Prasad, whom he should have seen as Sri Radha. He made a mistake and saw Radha as Baba, like daddy. I mean, it's really cutting. I mean, it makes you shiver. He doesn't mince words. That was published in Gaudiya Math. You think he might say something like that privately? It was an article. Right. Publication. You can buy it at the newsstand. So, Saraswati, and sometimes devotees go, well, Bhaktivinod is like easier to kind of understand than to Saraswati, it's so complicated and difficult to grasp. Like once I was reading a transcript of one of his lectures, I think I read the first sentence. I was in Moscow at Kiselny. I had to go outside and walk around the block for a half an hour thinking about it. That was the first sentence of what he said. And his general approach, if you could say so, is that he will make a statement about Krishna consciousness. Then he will one by one address all the counter arguments that you might come up with in opposition to that statement. One by one, he will dispense with them. And then he'll say, now you're in a better position to understand what I said originally. That's one of his methods. And Guru Maharaj said, no matter where he started, inevitably, it ended up in praise of Srimati Radharani, Radha-dasyam, and concluding with an aspiration to eternally serve the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath. Right? Rupa and Raghunath. As Kaviraj Goswami does, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Jara Ash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. So you always say, take everything in the direction of Radha-dashakam, praise Srimati Radharani, and then say, and let our lives, eternally be an aspiration to serve the lotus feet of Rupa and Raghunath, lifetime after lifetime. That's the general tenor and structure and conclusion of his lectures. So, and it was Srila Saraswati Thakur who wanted to reveal Nabadwip Dham to everyone. Bhaktivinod gave the map, but he's going to take you there, and in each place he wanted to build a beautiful temple, and he would sometimes be very inspired and start telling his disciples, and the temples will be made of jewels, and he would start describing what it was going to be like. Jeweled walkways, you open the door, the sunlight will shine on these jewels, and that will illuminate the temples and the deities, and he would madly go on telling them what it was going to be like. And there's always someone who's an accountant, a numbers person there, and they go Prabhupada, how are we going to pay for that? And he said, oh, no, don't worry about that. He said, I will take one Chintamani brick from a Vaikuntha temple, and that will more than cover the cost. So don't worry about the cost. That's not a problem. Then we can understand it's like divine madness. But that was his intention. When Bhaktivinod Thakur had the first Gaur Purnima festival, we talk about Nabadwip Dham Parikrama and all that, but when was the first Gaur Purnima festival? Bhaktivinod Thakur. So he discovers Mahaprabhu's birthplace. Remember, there are only Muslims living there, and they said it was a useless piece of land, and it's actually dangerous part of town. I mean, it's not town. So it's dangerous to go out there. So Bhaktivinod Thakur wants to have the festival, and we think you have to manage and deal with so many problems, like the pujari leaves or something, the cook doesn't show up, or whatever it is. So he can't get a Brahmin cook to come. They're afraid. Brahmins, a little bit scaredy cat type. So they don't want to come. So Guru Maharaj said he hired a man who must have ganja. Tell her what that is. Parananda, tell her what it is. Yeah, she seems like, whoa. So, weed, marijuana. But I don't want to get into it. They have different ways of preparing it. Bhang, they call it. You rub these leaves together and make like a lassi. Smoothie, very smooth. So I'm just telling you what Guru Maharaj said. So with his own hands, Bhaktivinod Thakur would take those marijuana leaves, rub them together, and get the resins flowing and the juices and all, because that's how they do it. I've seen them do it. Like this. And then make that bhang. And the man would drink the bhang and he'd be cool and ready to go. And he's the cook for the festival. Right? And so, like Avadut Maharaj, he's always got to provide some entertainment for the people. Bhaktivinod Thakur understands that too. So he has birds of the Dham, like I like the kokil. That's the sound, an operad, but similar to that. So he has kokeels, different birds of the Dham. So people can come and, oh, look, there's the kokeel. Not a pretty bird, but they make a beautiful sound. Oh, look at, there's a peacock. Oh, look at that. There's the, like what's funny, when I'd ask the Bengalis about different birds, they go, what's the name of that bird? They go, Pakki. Oh, okay. What's the name of that bird? Pakki. Wait, you said the other bird was, they're all Pakki. I mean, it's like bird. We call it Pakki. I go, but there are two different ones. What's the name? They go, I don't know. Maharaj, I am not knowing that. We say Pakki. So he has all these different birds there, and people can come, go, wow. So there's some wow factor. And, he in other words, he set up some entertainment for the visiting pilgrims. It's not inappropriate. You have to give people something. Prabhupada in Mayapur, it was all rice fields, like Chiang Mai. Wasn't Lana means million rice fields, doesn't it? This was the Lana kingdom 100 years ago, absorbed into Thailand. Elephants live here naturally, and Lana means land of a million rice fields. That's the name. This was a rice field at some point. Where we are right now was a rice field. And we're surrounded by beautiful rice fields. To me, there's nothing more beautiful. And remember, Mahaprabhu discovered Radha and Shama Kunda were rice fields. Right. So Mayapur, ISKCON, Mayapur, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, Prabhupada bought this land, the rice fields, and not too far from the Ganga, so very irrigable, if that's a word. And he'd go on walks and stuff like in the early days of construction. And he said, I heard him say these things. He said, I'm happy like this. I've seen him live in a hut, bathe out of a bucket, and with a big smile, ecstatic smile on his face. He said, if I sit down and take Krishna Nam here in a rice field, no one will come. Like Gorkha Babaji, there's a story where these educated, high-class men from Calcutta come to see him. Babaji Maharaj, we want to get your mercy. He goes, really? Yes, Maharaj, we want your mercy. He goes, okay, stay with me here and take Krishna Nam and don't go back to Calcutta. And they're like shocked. And then Prabhupada said, Gorkha Shordas Babaji Maharaj was a very humorous fellow. Told them, like, don't go back to Calcutta, stay with me here and take Krishna Nam. And they declined that invitation from Gorkha. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have either, but think about it. So Prabhupada said, if I sit here and chant Hare Krishna in a rice field, nobody will come. He said, but if we make a first-class building with air conditioning and have an AC bus, go from Calcutta to here, people will come. That's what they did, and people come. It's the largest Krishna conscious city on the earth planet, as envisioned by Bhaktivinod Thakur. It's all the credit of Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and his disciples. They've done that. They've realized the vision. Once when on a walk, Jayapataka Maharaj said something about getting the King of England to come for the opening of some particular thing. Prince Charles became the king, and he said, and Prabhupada stopped and said, if you can get the King of England to come to Mayapur, he said, Bhaktivinod Thakur will descend and take you by the hand back to the spiritual world. That's what he said. So, why was I saying that? So, the AC and Saraswati. So Saraswati Thakur, we know, he's living in the jungle of Mayapur, and gets Tirtha Maharaj, Kunja Bihari Vidyabhushan, they call him affectionately Kunja Babu. That's not offensive, that's how he was called. But his name was Kunja Bihari Vidyabhushan. Later became Srila Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj. but they always call him Kunja Babu. He's the manager of Gaudiya Math. Saraswati Thakur used to call him the co-founder. And he put in marble, carved in marble, called him Prabhupada Preshta, the one who's most dear to Prabhupada. And we find, you're in different situations. So some devotees don't like serving under him or have some complaints. Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada Preshta. And that once these devotees, they knew if they complain about him, the Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur, that he won't take it seriously. So they get Guru Maharaj, the Sharal Brahmin. Say, Maharaj, this, and it's very serious, and we have, and they convince Guru Maharaj to represent them. And when he finally tells Saraswati Thakur says, because I could expect this from them, but coming from you, I'm very disappointed. And that really hurt Guru Maharaj. He realized he'd been duped. And Saraswati Thakur said, I am prepared to throw money in the Ganga if it's necessary for the service of Mahaprabhu. And he said, so what if he's taking some money that we collected and building a house for his family, educating his children? He said, where am I going to get a man like that? How much would it cost to hire someone like that? He said, this is nothing. And then he was angry and he said, all of you can leave. I only need him. I don't need bead counters. I got to finish my rounds. Go and don't come back. After you finish, don't come back. He didn't say, counting beads in the jungle of Baliati is not Krishnanushilana. He said, Kirtan means a fight. He declared totalitarian war against Maya, illusion, and all other religions. So he said, I only need him. You can all go. He was like very angry. Then all of you go and just leave him with me. And why? Because I need an audience. He gets me an audience. And you're going to go around, chanting your japa, and you've got to do this, and you've got to, I don't need that. I'm conducting a war. He gets me an audience. That's what I need. So, but still, Saraswati Thakur, he thought about that. That was his answer, and maybe he thought, all right, I was a little hot. But he kept thinking about it. 6 months later or so, in the Madras Gaudiya Math, he always goes to where they're printing and likes to take a tour of the press and see the books. Like one of the senior devotees observed, like he's looking at his Chaitanya Bhagavat. The commentaries are extraordinary. And he said, I saw all the ecstatic symptoms playing upon his divine form, but he's always suppressing ecstatic emotions to not mislead others. But advanced devotees could observe that these things are happening. He's just looking, taking a tour of the press. Like we know the one time he sees the verse written by Guru Maharaj about Bhaktivinod Thakur, Sri Gauranamatam, Srupa Viditam, Rupa-nuga-dhara, Rupa-de Pariveshitam, Ragu-gunaya, Ashraditam, Sevitam, Jivadye Abhirakshitam, Shuka Shiva Brahma, Samanitam, Sri Radha Padasevanam Ritam, Aho Tadattami Shobhavan. Oh, Bhaktivinod Thakur, your gift to the world is what Mahaprabhu brought down. And that's all, known only to Srup Damodar, according to Kaviraj Goswami and Charitamritam, worshipped by Sanatan Goswami, distributed by Rupa and his followers, relished, enhanced by Raghunath and his, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, protected by Jiva and Baladev, a drop of that divine substance is aspired for by Brahma, Shiva, Uddhava, Asamaho, Charanenu, Jashamahangshang, Vrindavane, Apigumilatosadinam, Yaddushtajam Swajanamarjapatam Chihitva, Bejur Mukunda Parivrim Shruti Birmigyam. What is it? Sri Radha Padasevanamritam. The nectarine service of the holy lotus feet of Srimati Radharani. That is Bhaktivinod Thakur's gift to the world. When Saraswati Thakur saw that, he said, "Who has written this?" And they said, "Did it go black?" Okay. They said, "Sridhar Maharaj." And he said, "No, Sridhar Maharaj has not written this." He said, "Bhaktivinod Thakur has written this through him. It's not perfect." He said, "Now I'm satisfied. Soon I will leave the world, but at least one man remains behind who can represent me perfectly and fully, and that man is Sridhar Maharaj." Now, I came here, descended from that world to distribute something. Now there's evidence that someone received what I came to give. So I'm good. I'm ready to go. Says one man's got it. And that man is Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti-Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, as acknowledged by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, and all the senior Srila Puri Maharaj, Srila Ban Maharaj, Srila Madhava Maharaj, Srila Keshava Maharaj, they all recognize that Guru Maharaj is the rupa-nuga-dhara, that he's carrying that divine current. They witnessed Saraswati Thakur on his disappearance bed call Guru Maharaj and ask him to sing Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. Srila Puri Maharaj, he's the one, when he tells that, you'd have to have abject humility to tell that story. He knows, because he's a good singer, Saraswati Thakur stopped him, said, "No, I want to hear this only from the lips of Sridhar Maharaj, from the heart of Sridhar Maharaj." So Srila Puri Maharaj said, "Prabhupada called you, and you are the rupa-nuga-dhara," because I was there when his letter came. And I said to Guru Maharaj innocently, this is the first time I heard, I said, "He says you are the rupa-nuga-dhara? What does that mean?" And Guru Maharaj said, he is saying that rupa-nuga-dhara, that means the one who is carrying the current of Srila Rupa Goswami. My godbrothers say, at that moment, that I was given entrance into the group of Sri Rupa Manjari. In that event, Puri Maharaj and others say, he was given entrance into the group of Sri Rupa Manjari. Guru Maharaj say, they're saying that. He said, I say, I was rather posted at the gate, Bhakti Rakak, the guardian, to see who will enter, who will not enter. And we're like, and Guru Maharaj said, and I'm not allowing anyone and everyone. But Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj, given entrance, and he will say, he cannot tolerate the idea of Guru Maharaj being gatekeeper. No, Guru Maharaj is on the inside. So see, 3 different ways of seeing, and they're all good. But Gurudev doesn't want to hear about Guru Maharaj being gatekeeper. He's on the inside. I think he's on the inside, but someone has to answer the door. Right, so, sorry, okay. Not now. So, Saraswati Thakur, so they're touring the Madras printing works there, Sri Gaudiya Math, and he points to the Bhagavatam, they're printing the Bhagavatam, and he says to Guru Maharaj, here's your answer. It's 6 months later. Guru Maharaj said, I was thinking, what is my question? I didn't say anything. He goes, here's your answer. What? Prabhupada, what? Come here. And he shows them, sva-pada-mulam bhajata priyasya shloka. We were talking about apichet suracharo earlier. Now, sva-pada, and read Gurudev and his Revealed Truth. That's the thick book, right? His explanation of this is unparalleled. It's so beautiful. Madhusudan Maharaj knows where it is, and what it says, like, and the two examples given, Guru Maharaj will give, is like soldier and policeman, and just set aside what's going on in the world and all that stuff for a minute, and how all these things are abused. It's an example. He said, so if a soldier kills on behalf of the government, not only is he not punished, when he goes back, they give him a medal. They go, and for his outstanding, there's that woman, Russian sharpshooter, World War II, some village woman, like killed, a whole bunch of people, because no one thought it would be her. Some old babushka with a rifle, killing Nazis. So they'll give you a medal. If a policeman kills someone in the line of duty, he's given a medal. If you kill one person on your own, you're culpable, you go to jail, you're punished. So he's saying, what is done on behalf, truly, there's no punishment for that, no reprimand, nothing, even honor. And now, in the aftermath of the breakdown of Sri Gaudiya Math, they were in the court, and so there's Vasudeva and his group on one side, and Tirtha Maharaj's group, and they're like going back. They're both trying to get each other. And because Gurudev told the one man, they bring him up to the stand, one simple-hearted Vaishnava. And Vasudeva by this time had taken sannyas, so his name was Bhakti Prasad Puri. So they get this man on the stand, and they're going, state your name, it's Krishna Das, Father's name, Bhakti Prasad Puri. He goes, no, what is your father's name? He goes, well, Prasad Puri. He goes, Prasad Puri Samosa Kachori, what is your father's name? He goes, Prasad Puri. But then at one point, they caught Tirtha Maharaj admitting that he lied and cheated. He did illegal things. And one of Vasudev's associates said, we've got him. And Vasudeva Prabhu, to show the level he is, he goes, no, not for that. I go, what? He said, we worship that. He said, if he lied and cheated in service to Prabhupada, that's worshipable to us. I will not win over that for sure. That's something worshipable. He lied and cheated for his guru. And, internet, go crazy as you will. Right? So he wanted to get him on something else, but not on, abject dedication and surrender, unconditional surrender to the order of Guru. Not on, like he knows stuff, not about that. So, and Guru Maharaj said he met a man who was at the talk that Bhaktivinod Thakur gave, where he predicted that in the future they'll come from all over the world, chant Hare Krishna Maha mantra, Nitai Gaur, Haribo, and all that. A man who was at the talk there and heard it. And Gurudev said, we always thought that was kind of, like a thing devotees say, and, because they say, and it'll spread all over the world. What does that mean exactly, even still? So he said, but then Srila Prabhupada, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, actually did it. And that's why, see, when they were invited to the meeting, the inauguration of the Sri Chandradoya Mandir in Mayapur, Guru Maharaj is the guest of honor, and of course Gurudev, he brings Guru Maharaj. And Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj is there. And Guru Maharaj was not feeling well, but he still spoke. Srila Govinda Maharaj was not expecting to speak, but maybe sing some songs. So It's pure inspiration. And you see in that painting on the veranda of Gurudev and Navi, it looks like a Leela out of Chaitanya Charitamrita, very nicely painted. I think Rupa-nuga did that, Ganga. So they go, Prabhupada, he wants to hear, Govinda Maharaj is the son Prabhupada never had. That's who he wanted as a son. He had some other sons, with all due respect. One of them, when he felt the inspiration to take bhajan, told Srila Prabhupada, I'm going to go to Chaitanya Saraswati Mat. Prabhupada's son said, I've got some inspiration to do bhajan, I'm going to go to Chaitanya Saraswati Mat. And Prabhupada said, well, that makes sense. But I have so many temples, why don't you come to one of mine? These are all true. I'm not making this stuff up. Right? So I was in Bombay, and Prabhupada explained these things. Srila Srava Prabhu, Vaishnava Maharaj, he was there too. And some others. I mean, we're second tier devotees. But anyway, so Prabhupada said, Govinda Maharaj, say something. And Srila, he's like, what can I say? Who can I tell? Kam pratikatai tamise samprati tamayatu gopa tanaya kunje gopa viduti vidhang brahma. See, the verse says, what can I say? Who can I tell? Prabhupada said, Govinda Maharaj, say something. And what can I say? Who can I tell? But he's quoting Raghupati Upadhyaya. He could just say that personally. What can I say or who can I tell? But he's quoting a verse that says, what can I say, who can I tell? And in that verse, Raghupati is saying, because Mahaprabhu, after he praised Nanda and Yasoda, and saying anything more, and that's when he says, what can I say and who can I tell? Is there anybody who would believe it? If I tell him that Param Brahma who's crawling in the courtyard of Nanda Maharaj and onto the lap of Yashoda sucking her breast milk, and when he gets older, he's hunting the gopi girls in the Kunja Vrindavan. Is there anyone I could tell that to? And would they believe it? Gopa Vitang Brahma. Anyway, Gopa Viduti Vitang Brahma. Vita means like cheating hunter. So is anyone I could tell that's why, like Krishna, Guru Maharaj said, those, when they heard Sukadev describe Rasalila, they go, all right, first you're telling us that God is a man, right? And that's like, we're still trying to get our heads around that. Now you're telling us he's an immoral man. That is too much, Swamiji. That is too much, but we prefer the Bhattacharya Rasa and Gopal when he was his mother. So now you're telling us he's an immoral man. I mean, so, and that's a whole other subject, whether or not Krishna's an immoral man. So Govinda Maharaj quotes that verse, and when Babaji Maharaj hears, Kam Pratikatai Tamije, he goes, Hare Krishna! Hare Krishna! Guru Maharaj said, because he knew he had conquered the audience. For those who had the ears and hearts to hear. So, and when the devotee, the whole thing goes on, and Srila Govinda Maharaj sings too and everything, and it's all over, and the deities are there. Guru, Gauranga, Radha, Madhava. And the devotees go, Prabhupada, what do we do, what do we do to install the deities? He said, Sridhar Maharaj has arrived, the deities are installed. Next question. That's what he said. So Srila Gurudev is saying, who can I tell, who would believe me, that the person who fulfilled Mahaprabhu's divine will, the prediction of Bhaktivinod Thakur, that I used to eat breakfast with him on number 6 Sitakant Banerjee Lane. And he was teaching me Bhagavad Gita, and I was selling his Back to Godhead magazine. And when I told him what the people would say, and that was puzzling me, I'd come back and he'd know, next time you tell them this. And when we would eat breakfast, he would have his puri and sabji and say, Gorindu. He was Gorindu Brahman, said, Gorindu, have a little sabji and puris. And Govinda would say, no, the muri is fine for me. And he would say, muri, that is simply cheating the stomach. And they would laugh. He said, is there anyone that I can tell this to, that I sat with and had this kind of affectionate interaction, and that's the person who spread Krishna consciousness all over the world? Will anyone believe it? How perfect what Gurudev said at that, and how pleased Srila Prabhupada was to hear it. There's so many others who were there, they didn't hear anything. Or heard. Someone will say, oh, I was there. Oh, really? And what did you remember from that? Gurudev remembers. Guru Maharaj remembers. There was a divine transaction. Leela took place there at that time. The Leela of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, and Srila Gurudev, and Babaji Maharaj was on full display there. And just like Krishna Leela, you wonder how it happened. There are people who can't see it, or see it and think it's something else. You have to be blessed and have a high level of sukriti to appreciate that. Gurudev said, everyone can understand what Prabhupada Swami Maharaj did. If they're a sincere follower and appreciator of Krishna, how can you not? Guru Maharaj said, we are happy, we are glad, we are proud. And that was from his heart, talking about Prabhupada, what he did. So Gurudev said, anyone can understand that. How can you not? He said, but to appreciate Guru Maharaj, he said, that requires some extra sukriti. It won't be obvious. But what Prabhupada did, that's obvious. You don't have to make much of a case for that. People who are not devotees know his glories. Like I told my brother, he's like reading the Prabhupada Lilamrita. I'm thinking it's great. And appreciating what Prabhupada did. But Gurudev said, but to appreciate Guru Maharaj, that requires some extra sukriti. So Prabhupada, Madhava Maharaj, Srila Puri Maharaj, Srila Keshava Maharaj, Srila Ban Maharaj, they would all come and stay with Srila Guru Maharaj. And I remember when around this time I heard that a daughter of Bhaktivinod Thakur was living in London, and I innocently, foolishly said to Srila Gurudev, we're in my room, I said, Maharaj, what do you think if on my way back, I stop in London and interview her? And he said very he goes, we're not interested in any blood connection, flesh connection. And I went ugh. And then that afternoon, I went up to see Srila Guru Maharaj, and the sun's going down and I saw Bhaktivinod Thakur sitting in the chair. And I thought, Bhaktivinod Thakur is in front of me, and I need to go to London and interview his daughter? Hare Krishna. We now rejoin our regularly scheduled program. Madhusudan Maharaj, help!
Maharaj, you need no help. It's all of us who are receiving help from you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
And joyfully.
Let me do this then, just like for a conclusion. And now for part 2.
And part two, Maharaj, so part two, I propose that we do have a program tomorrow. And as pointed out by the devotees, some who are watching, they don't have temples to go to nearby. So Maharaj, with your, of course, your backing and everything, if we may also continue tomorrow.
I think it's a good idea.
All right, wonderful, Maharaj. And it is the Adivas day of Gaurapanima tomorrow. And also we do have Champahati and Vidyanagar and those areas, which Maharaj,
that's right.
the devotees will be nourished to hear about.
I agree. So why don't you say some things that I didn't say?
Oh my goodness, Maharaj, now you put me on the spot. But I would be able to, I would say what
Maharaj, Dostoevsky says that humiliation is one of the most intense forms of self-awareness.
Okay, I'll meditate on that one, Maharaj. But in the meantime, Maharaj, I can say that in the programs which I lead, etc. Then I'm also reading parts from like Nabadwip Dham, Mahatmya, etc. And so, I mean, I can say we've fulfilled the purpose of coming on the Parikrama. We've come to Bhaktivinod Thakur's place, to Godrumadeep, and we've heard the glories of Bhaktivinod Thakur, and what he has done means everything that's come in Krishna consciousness all over the world has come through him. And so, Maharaj, we fulfilled that fully. And of course, we have some like sentimental mood of how we go on Parikrama, which way we go, the heat, all sorts of other things along the way. But Maharaj, the purpose of coming everywhere is to hear the topics that you've been delivering. So Maharaj, I think for today, really, I think we all can read Nabadwip Dham Mahatmya in our homes. There are beautiful sections, a beautiful section about Godrumadeep also. And Maharaj, I think we continue today with
all right, let me say one last thing before we conclude. So, as you, Madhusudan Maharaj knows very well, the different parties handle this differently. Srila Abhidut Maharaj, you might see in the videos, he realized, I'm going to take the Russian group and speak in Russian, because sometimes we go there and like, when the Bengalis, there's an hour, or when they ask a Maharaj to speak, like so many have already spoken and chanted so many mantras. We've been there for an hour and they go, oh, so-and-so Maharaj, could you say something? And then they go like, Vandeham, Sri Guru, and they do the whole Vandanam, and then they give a Bhagavad Gita class. Right? And then they go, oh, make sure so-and-so, Maharaj, could you say, and then we're trying to bring it, and then they go, yeah, and I'm like, oh, okay, and keep it short, okay, yeah, and they go, Vandeham Sri Guru, So when Hari Charan, his famous money, like his money line was always, he'd go, and it was beautiful, he'd always go, Ek Bindu Jagat Dubai. One drop, it's from Chaitanya, one drop can inundate the whole universe. I mean, how are you going to top that, But like, if he kept going on, I've seen, but they actually pull the rug so the speaker can feel it on his feet, that someone's no one can see it, but there's a guy pulling the rug and the speaker can feel it's on, and like, oh, okay, they have ways of letting someone know, like, on TV, they go like this, means wrap it up. But there, they actually pull the rug. So the guy all right, yeah, okay. Ekabindu Jagat Dubai. So Abhidut Maharaj gets the Russian-speaking group to go. Ashram, they have like the Spanish group. It's better that way, because then you can pull into some place and do it simultaneously instead of waiting in a sequence. So Tirthamara, and some people, they need to ride rickshaw or take a shortcut. Maharaj is talking about sometimes go by boat, foot, this, that, But Srila Bhakti Prapanna Tirtha Maharaj, he doesn't skip anything. Right? So his group, they're always the last one to make it back to the mat. And I used to call it the Death March. It was like Mao's Death March, you know, where they started out with 100,000 and ended up with like 2,000 Chinese dudes who like took over China. Badass guys that made it. The other 98,000 are dead on the way. So Tirtha Maharaj is always called the Death March. You know, on the hot pavement, the broken glass. I mean, they don't, you know, these Bengali ladies, they'll knock you out of the way. These little women are like, you know, a meter tall, you know, and they're chewing pan and they walk on glass, you know, they're amazing. Once the Paramahansa Maharaj saw like two of them and they're like taking pan. He goes, Didi. And they're going, ah. He goes, you're taking and not offering to me and Maharaj? And they go, oh, you know. So anyway, on Tirtha Maharaj's Death March, they stop at different temples. So at one temple, a dog attaches himself to our party. Like they do. You see so many dogs. I always say, dog is looking for a master, cat is looking for a servant. I love both of them, but I probably love dogs a little more. But that's it. Dogs are searching for a master, cats are searching for a servant. And it's all good. So the dog joins our party, and we know in Charitamritam, a dog joins Shivananda Sen's party. He's bringing 200 Bhagavatas from Nabadwip to Puri. Think about it. Just 200 devotees, but 200 Bhagavatas. And they're followers of Nityananda. That means some of them are really eccentric. Things are bound to go wrong, you know. And we know at one point Nityananda, you know, the prasadam's not on time. So when Shivananda is saying, oh, Nitai, you know, merciful, he explains to him, Nityananda, what? And he kicks him and says, I curse you and your family to all drop dead for being late with prasadam. The merciful Nityananda said. Then Shivananda Sen told his wife, Nityananda just cursed, we're all going to drop dead because prasadam was late. She said, oh, what are we going to do? You know. And he said, we should drop dead for making him wait. And nobody dropped dead, okay? So anyway, a dog joins the party and is going along, you know, Indian dog, you know, he's going like that. Forgive me, for I know not what I do. So, but then like Sandeep, when he heard we got Kate, Ananga and I went to get Ketu when he was a puppy. I was going, yeah, I drove over there. And he goes, the dog was in this car? Like, I said, yeah, a dog was in the car. It's like, you know, he has to like do a puja or something. And anyway, so they're going there, and then they have to cross on the boat, and the boatman says, no dogs allowed. Sandeep was actually the boatman. I'm revealing that. And Gaur Leela, Sandeep was that boatman. And he said, no dogs on my boat. And they said, really, Sandeep? He said, really. All right. So then Shivananda Sen, he's not heartless. He has some... he likes the dog. He has a little attachment for the dog. He feels some pain, like, oh, I wish he could come with us. But anyway, they have to go on, and they go on. When they finally reach Puri and find Mahaprabhu, they see Mahaprabhu. He's happy to see everyone. Mahaprabhu's chewing on some coconut. And then he takes it and he goes, phew, and tosses it over. And there's that dog. And he's eating the coconut from the mouth of Mahaprabhu. And we're told that dog went to Vaikuntha and beyond, right? So one dog joined our party, and then and then they go to the next temple, and you know, he's there for all the lectures, everything. Then they get up and go, he goes, he's with us, you know. So he comes back to the mat. And normally the street dogs who come to the mat, they're taken care of, but it's like they get remnants like of the Vaishnavas on plates, the leaf plates that are thrown away. They let the dogs go and lick them. It's actually very nice, right? But for this dog, because he went on all those places, when he came back, they gave him a leaf plate with prasadam, and he sat there and ate that prasadam, like next to a devotee, a little bit away from them. He sat there and they gave him his own leaf plate and served him the different preparations. Such is the vision, the mercy, the hearts of the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna. And on that note, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinod Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Go Premanande, Madhusudan Maharaj.
Jai Shri Nabadwip Dham Parikrama ki Jai, Jai Shri Kodrumadip ki Jai, Shri Nabadwip Dham ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gurudev, Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Guru Maharaj, Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rockok Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan, Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Shri rupa-nuga-dhara ki Jai. Indeed, Srila Bhaktivinod Thakur ki Jai at his appearance place there. And Jai Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Jai Shri Nityananda Prabhu is leading Jiva Goswami on the first Parikrama of Nabadwip Dham ki Jai. And Shri Nabadwip Dham Mahatmya ki Jai. Nabadwip Bhavataranga ki Jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Jai Shri Chaitanya Bhagavat ki Jai. And Jai Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur ki Jai. All the assembled Vaishnavas, senior, junior, in all directions ki Jai. And Srila Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Vrinda ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari.
Madhusudan Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Jai Raman Prabhu ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nitai Gaur Hari Gaur.